There was a time there when watches got larger and larger to the point where it seemed that some people were looking at adding weight to their wrists for exercise purposes rather than time-telling needs. But then over the last few years they shrunk down again, and even looking at Baltic in particular, their 36mm watches are not only easy to source but seems to be selling well too. So from that perspective, is there a market for a chunky piece with a strong design language that is also from France? The first Neotype LM01 was a dive watch with a sloping bezel and eye-catching design that I liked very much. I tried to get a hold of one upon release, but it never eventuated. But here we are with the LM02, which is not quite as unique looking, but it is borrowing some of the features of the LM01, such as the solid construction and the long markers at 12 and 6. You can source this one in stark black and white on either a steel case or PVD, or you can choose this old radium style on either black PVD or a steel case. I chose to borrow this old radium style, and not because I care about patina, but because I think the combination of this black and beige is rather beautiful. So this is a straight up color choice for me, and should be for you too. Nobody's trying to give the impression here of a found vintage piece, which is quite obvious with its modern design. With each color choice, it's limited to 75 pieces, so I would decide soon if you're keen on one. So is this a release you should catch? That is a personal choice, and I'll give you my opinion today, so stick around and we'll take a closer look. I've already mentioned that it is a chunky one today, but in fairness, I think it looks chunkier than what it actually is. The bezel diameter is only 40mm, but if we include the crown guards, it's closer to 44mm. Lug to lug is a reasonable 48.8mm, and lug width is 22mm. Including the 3.5mm double dome crystal with its 5 layers of AR coating, it's 15.1mm thick. On this quality rubber strap is 116 gram and it's water resistant to 200 meters. It is a quality piece that feels solid and strong. As we check out the dial, it might be a good time to mention the price, which is at €680 or $623 ambitious. But the quality of the materials used explains that cost to a point. We get a sandwich style dial with all time markers and printed subdials. All hands are blacked out with applied lume, as you can see. The Neotype logo is printed well, and so is the text at the 6 at just above the long 6 marker. However, it is worth mentioning that on this prototype it is a little crooked, but I'm sure that will be fixed for production. It's a neat and tidy design approach that I think looks great and definitely carry over well from the LM01. The chronograph part is a dead giveaway that we are looking at a mecha quartz movement from Seiko, which I think is the right choice for a first chronograph. I'd say most people want the look, but wouldn't pay twice this asking price for a mechanical chronograph movement in a small brand from France. Perhaps like fellow French brand Baltic, if they are long-term successful, we might see some fun options down the track for movements. As it stands now, you have the usual seconds hand that's still when not in use, a minute counter on the left and 24-hour dial on the right. All this in combination with a matte black ceramic bezel insert with a tachymeter fits the bill of a chronograph and looks great. You also can't argue with having the time always be correct until you have to change the battery at least. The bezel is chunky, and a big part of that is the sapphire glass at 3.5mm. And since this movement is actually quite slim, this is really what creates this extra thick case, which is likely the same as the LM01. I would prefer a slimmer case myself, but let's remember all the people out there that enjoys a chunky piece on their wrist. One flow-on effect is that the dial appears to sit quite deep and it gets a little dark in there, however silly that sounds. Looking at the fixed bezel from the side, we can see how much space is taken up since the lugs are quite slim and a distinct downward angle design on the lugs. The crown is chunky and signed and screwed down. With the water resistance, it does make sense to have a way to lock down the pushers here also, and I like the look of these types of pushers, but I know many don't. You do have to unscrew and rescrew these when in use or not in use. Or let's be honest, leave them fully unscrewed and they look similar to normal pushers that usually have a larger flat part at the tip. The top one engages the seconds hand and the bottom one resets as per usual. The case back is screw-in, which is amusingly engraved just in case the watch service department forgets the lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. The big X on the back is a big part of the design language of the brand, and your watch will be numbered with something different to this prototype, which is 0 out of 75. The FKM strap is really solid and signed on the inside, which should also channel away sweat in summer or water if you're swimming. It tapers to about 20mm, and the quick release spring bars helps to swap over to other 22mm straps. But of course, attaching a green nylon strap that's also supplied is a must at some point. This type of lume is rarely the strongest, but it's serviceable enough, and in the pitch black of my bedroom I can still see it in the morning before the sun comes up, so whilst it's not blinding, it's pretty good. There will be some of you that balk at the pricing considering the movement, but considering the quality materials and the uniqueness of this brand and design, I don't think it's too outrageous. For me, it's the thickness that's the killer here. I think they've done well to hide it through separating the bezel from the case through good and honestly established design tricks, but it's still chunky on the wrist and will therefore not be for everyone. I think the black and beige is really quite attractive and legible too, but I will link up the website for other options if you're not sold on this variant. So what do you think of this one from Neotype? Let me know in the comments and I'll catch you next time.